Okay, first thing, we're going to do this first. I want the notes taken. This will be handed in tomorrow. Okay. And I will grade it according to how much effort was put forth on the notes right here. Okay, this is what you need to know about standard 3. It's pretty short standard. There's only four problems on it. There's not a test this week, but when we do take this standard, this is what it's going to look like. It's just going to be one page front back. Okay, number 1, find the value for C that makes a perfect square trinomial, then factor the trinomial. Okay, so perfect square trinomials, first we find the C by taking B divided by 2 to the second power. Then we'll factor it after we get our C value. Okay, so I put an implied 1 there. That's A. That's B, and I come up with C myself. So my B is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 to the second power is 16. So you can now replace your C with 16. Now factor that. So you take A times C, that's going to be positive 16. So it'd have to be double negative at the beginning. And I'm trying to get the factors to add to positive 8. Now what number times itself is 16? It'd be 4. So add those two together. Well, that's negative 8. We have to have positive 8, so we're going to make the signs plus plus, and then I go factor. The A is a 1, so it's just x plus 4 times x plus 4, and then I write that as x plus 4 quantity squared. Okay, number 2, rewrite the equation in vertex form. So that's when I need to write y equals 3 times so I can get some direction with the problem. Now we're going to be looking at the same thing. B over 2 to the second we're going to use, and we're going to use our trinomial t-chart to factor. So I put the implied 1. Then I make my own parentheses with the plus 20 kicked out. Okay, I want the 1 there, okay, so I don't need to put anything out here because it's already a 1. So 1x to the second plus 10x plus, and then I don't know what that is. It's going to be my C that I use. So once I get the C, I need to, B is 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5, and then 5 to the second power equals 25. So I'm bringing it to 25. Now, is there anything you have to multiply the 25 by? Is there anything out front? No, I don't think there is, okay? So this 25 is the one we have to balance. So I brought in a plus 25 here, so I'm going to put plus 25 there. But I don't want that plus 25 on the y, so then I quickly subtract 25, and then I subtract it from the 20. Okay, so then I take my A times C. 1 times 25 is 25, positive. And we're trying to add to get to positive 10. Well, it's 5 and 5. That adds to negative 10, but I need positive 10, so I change the signs both. Okay, so I rewrite that into 2 parentheses. Remember, the 1 I don't need anymore because it's x to the second, so it'd be x plus 5. X plus 5, and then 20 minus 25 is negative 5, so write minus 5 then. So you write that as x plus 5 to the second minus 5. Now it's in vertex form. Okay, number 3. Same thing. You're trying to accomplish the same thing. There's just one thing you have to do differently. So, first thing, I make a parentheses, kick out the plus 1, but I don't want that 2 I'm going to put out here. See, on the last problem, that was already a 1, so I don't need to kick anything out. Now I go up and divide both of these by 2. That's 1x to the second minus 4x plus, and that's A, B, and C. So to get our C, we use B divided by 2 to the second. Now the B is negative 4. Just use 4 because you're just going to take it to the second power anyway. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 to the second power is 4. But your 4 is being multiplied by 2. Okay, so I take 4 times 2, which is 8. It's positive 8. So I brought in actually a positive 8. So I got a plus 8 there, and then quickly subtract the 8 from the 1. Okay, now the second part is to make my t-table and factor that trinomial. So 1 times 4 is 4. It's positive 4. And we are trying to add to the b term, which is negative 4. Okay, it'd be 2 and 2. Does that add up to negative 4? Yep. Okay. So we have it. Now it's just a matter of rewriting this into 2 parentheses. So it's x minus 2. X minus 2. 1 minus 8 is negative 7. So we have 2, and then x minus 2 to the second minus 7. Okay, that's all you do. Remember, you want the y equals 3 times. Okay, remember, after you come up with your c, you put it in there. It was 4, but then you got to figure out that the number you need to balance. Okay, 4 times 2 is 8, so I need to add an 8 over here and then subtract it quickly. Here I already had the 1, so I brought in 25. There's nothing there. Okay, so it's just 25 I balance. Minus 25 minus 25. Okay, and then the last one's super simple. Find the value of k that makes a perfect square trinomial. So that means if we did a t-chart with 81, 1 times 81, the number times itself is 9, but remember there'd be 2 of them. So we find the square root of 81, which is 9, and then multiply it by 2, always by 2, and that's 18. You're just doubling it, so k equals 18. Okay, that's enough of that. That's what you need to know on that standard there. Okay, now the next part of this, okay, we're on to standard 4, which is not a very long one either. I got to get the packet that goes with it. And standard 4 is all about the I, okay? All you're doing in this is just simplifying expressions involving the I. So you got parentheses 5 plus 2i plus a parentheses 8 minus I. Okay, now if you have a plus right there in the middle, all you're doing is combining like terms. You start with the constants, meaning the numbers without i's, and then add the numbers with the i's. So your constants are 5 and 8, that's 13. And then you have a 2 and a negative 1i. 2 plus negative 1 is going to be 1, so 13 plus 1i. Okay, next one, again with the plus, okay. Go ahead and make our blanks right away, so blank plus blank I. Okay, so non-I numbers, we have negative 4 and positive 8. Negative 4 plus 8 is going to be 4. Then the numbers with i's, we have a 10 and a negative 7. Add those, you get 3. Now, when you have subtraction, there's there's one thing you're going to do. You're going to make it into an addition problem. Put a 1 there. You're going to make it plus, and then everything in the parentheses afterwards goes to the opposite. So that 2 goes negative and the 1 goes positive. And now it's the same thing. Blank plus blank I. So numbers without i's, we have 12 and negative 2, that's 10. Numbers with i's, we have 5 and positive 1, that's 6. 10 plus 6i. Okay, now, when there is no sign between the parentheses, that means multiplication. So you need to do the FOIL method. You got to take 8 times 4, and then back to the 8. We're going to take 8 times negative 3i. Then 2i times 4, and then 2i times negative 3i. So 8 times 4 is 32. Then you have negative 24i, 8i, and then negative 6, but then I times I is I to the second. Now here's the thing about I to the second. when you see I to the second and it has to be the letter I, you're going to replace that with a value, and the value you're always going to replace it with is -1, okay? And then take -6 times -1, and that's 6. So now I go blank plus blank I. So, because the I isn't there, we add 32 plus 6, that's 38. And then the i's, you add the 2 in the middle. -24 plus 8, that's -16. There you have it. So that's how to handle a multiplication problem with i's. Okay, next one's another multiplication problem with i's, so that's multiplication. And then I do the FOIL method first, okay? I'm not ready to draw my spaces because I have to do the FOIL method. I take 8 times 2. I take 8 times 3i, and then -6i times 2, -6i times 3i. 8 times 2 is 16, 8 times 3i is 24i, -12i. -6 times 3 is -18, I to the second. Remember, the I to the second has to be the letter I. You can't do it with x to the second. It's got to be I. Replace that with -1, and then -18 times -1 is 18. And these two now are like terms. So blank plus blank I. Okay, so 16 gets added to 18, and that's 34. And then 24 gets added to -12i, that's 12. So 34 plus 12i. Now with the exponents, okay, what you're going to want to do with that second power is just get rid of it and make another parentheses and put the exact same expression. So it's -4i times -4i. So it's just one multiplication, okay? -4i. So if it's just one multiplication, you don't do the FOIL. You just take -4 times -4, which is 16. Then I times I is I to the second. But remember, with I to the second, you replace it with -1. And then you take 16 times -1, which is -16. Okay, same idea here. Times and then 12i. So you're just taking 12 times 12, which is 144. Then I times I is I to the second, which we replace with -1. So 144 times -1 is -144. Okay, now with the second power, again, you get rid of it, and you're going to multiply by 3 plus 4i. Now this time there's two numbers in each one. Here there's just one number in each parenthesis, so it was a quick process. Here there's two, so you go do the FOIL method. 3 times 3, 3 times 4i, 4i times 3, and then 4i times 4i. Okay, so I have 9, I have 12i, I have 12i. That's going to be 16i to the second. I to the second is actually a value of -1. So you take 16 times -1, which is -16. That's me parenthesizing and putting a -1 over it. So you can combine the 9 to the -16 now, and that's -7. Then you combine 12 and 12, that's 24. -7 plus 24i. 8 plus 2i. So now you got two numbers in each you got binomial times a binomial. Here's just a monomial times a monomial, 1 to 1, okay? Here it's 2 by 2, so you go FOIL. 2i times 8, 2i times 2i. So 8 times 8 is 64, 8 times 2i is 16i, another 16i, and 2 times 2 is 4 with I to the second. But I to the second is -1, okay? Well, 4 times -1 then is -4. There's my I space. So I go 64 plus negative 4, that's 60. And then 16 and 16 is 32. Okay, now on the assignment, remember, this is a plus right here. You don't do the rainbows. You just go straight to your like terms blanks. Same thing here, same thing here. Remember, make that plus, that goes negative, that goes negative. But it's the same thing. Now you'll need to start doing the FOIL because there's a multiplication in between them. Okay, next one. Write each expression in factored form. Now you're going to learn, it's like the difference of perfect squares, except you're going to run into something. The ones where I didn't give you one more, like here I gave you 2 squares for workspace. The one where I only gave you 1 square, just skip the GCF because it's just 1. So you're going to look for adopts. You know x to the second's x times x. Now, when you have a plus now, you need to start putting the letter I and the letter I. Okay. And then 49 is 7 times 7. You put the I on the back of each parentheses towards the back. And then you go x, x, 7, 7. And there you have it. Now let me explain how this works, okay? I'm actually going to multiply this out. X plus 7i. You don't need to take notes on this part. Just watch. So, FOIL. Okay, I take x times x. Then I take x times negative 7i. Then I take 7i times x. And then 7i times negative 7i. So that's x to the second. You put your negative 7 and then ix. Now you put 7 with ix. Now these both have the same variable components behind them, but one's a negative, one's a positive. That means they add to 0. And that's negative 49, but I to the second. Remember, that's negative 1 though. So I take negative 49 times negative 1, and that's 49. So the product is x squared plus 49, which is exactly where we started, okay? And that's why the I kind of comes into play. You don't need to check that every time. That's just me showing you. Okay, plus, minus. Okay, x times x. And then with the plus, when I run into a plus, when I'm trying to do the dots, I go I and I. And then 3 times 3. So it's x, x, and then 3i, 3i. Okay, now with 2 boxes, you want to do the GCF first because there is a GCF, and then you're going to see if you have your dots. It's more of a complex expression. Okay, 2 and 50 can be both divided by 2. Now you're not going to do x. You're also not going to do a negative because we don't have a negative in front. So I factor out a 2. And I have x to the second. You can put the 1 if you want, plus 25. So now the dots I'm looking here. This is x times x. And then when I run into the plus, I go I in the back end. And then I keep going. And 5 times 5. So it's x, x, and then 5, 5. Okay. Now you're factoring, okay. You make your 2 parentheses, and you go x plus 5i and x minus 5i. Then that 2, don't forget to put that 2 in the front of the parentheses, because that is the factorization. Because the 2's out, and then this becomes these 2 factors. Okay, next problem. Again, I assume there's no GCF. The GCF's 1 if I gave you that small of a workspace. So you go right into your DOPS factoring. So, not x to the second there, that's x times x, but there's a 9 in front of it, but 9 is 3 times 3. Then with the plus, I put I, and then 4 is 2 to I2. So it's 3x, 3x, and then after the plus and minus, we put the 2. Okay, no GCF. Fraction, you can do this. X times x, the plus, I go I and I. Now 1/9, what number times itself is 1? It'd be 1. 1's a perfect square, and 9's a perfect square, so it's 1/3 times 1/3. So plus minus, and then you go x. Then after the plus and minus, we put the 1/3. Okay, then the last one, there's got to be a GCF because I gave you a whole lot of workspace. So when you're trying to do the dots, when you're running the plus sign, you just go this. Okay, now 4 and 49 have a GCF of 1, but I need to make it negative because the leading coefficients in the problem is negative. So -1's factored out. That's going to be 4x to the second and plus 49. Now it goes positive. So in here we got x to the second. We know that's x times x. Now with the 4 in front of it, it's 2x by 2x. Now the plus means we go I, and then the 49 you go 7 times 7. So it's going to be 2x in front of the plus minus, and then 7. It's the same way you do dots, you just put an I at the end. Okay, so my parentheses are 2x plus 7i, and then 2x minus 7i, but don't forget to put the -1 in the front. Okay, if you have a question on that, let me know.